famous words built the foundation of our nation. But how well has the US of A upheld this motto? That's what I'm going to be talking about today. I'm going to go through the history of the United States and showcase all of its biggest blunders, because we have many. It all started long ago. So far back it's not even funny. We're talking before 1776. The area of land now known as the USA was completely inhabited by natives, different tribes of what we call Indians for some reason. The territory was also discovered by Vikings, but nobody cares about that. What's important is Christopher Columbus discovering the previously hidden and completely unknown land and mistaking it for India. Amerigo Vespucci later came about and let his name be used as the namesake for the new land, America. It's a little fun fact for you. Eventually all this open land became super desirable for places like Great Britain and France, and the Pilgrims came about, and eventually the Puritans, basically settlers from Europe. Eventually there were so many people in this new land that they wanted to form their own country and be independent from any monarch. They threw tea off the harbor dressed as Indians, and they even tarred and feathered people, which was just plain cruel. But most importantly, they fought for freedom under the new principle that everybody deserves said freedom and liberty. The newly titled Americans won the American Revolution, and America was born in 1776. We call the anniversary of this day 4th of July. Everyone was allowed to be equal and free in this new land, except Asians, African Americans, Hispanic people, and women. Despite being all about equality, America consistently failed in the equality arena. The most prominent example in the early stages of America is with the Native Americans. We had the right to conquer, is what it's called, basically meaning that we were allowed to take over their land. I mean, the Native Americans themselves fought with each other all the time before the white man even came to America. So it doesn't seem very fair that just because we had cannons and guns that we couldn't conquer. I mean, I'm sorry, but all is fair in love and war. And I still really love her. What wasn't just was the long walk that Andrew Jackson made the Native Americans go on, and the smallpox blanket prank. That was not just. Perhaps America's biggest failure was slavery. The enslavement of the African race was cruel and completely unconstitutional. Oh, well, actually, it was constitutional, but it really shouldn't have been, because slavery is the opposite of freedom. Luckily, Abraham Lincoln abolished slavery in 1865. Finally, the African people were considered to be actual people.
Maybe we're not, Mer.
You see, despite being free, the African people were still ostracized by something called the Jim Crow laws, which basically meant that they were not given the same privileges as white people. These Jim Crow laws were eventually stopped by the likes of Martin Luther King Jr. and Rosa Parks, and black people were finally actually equal. There are many influential African Americans today, including Obama and the before-mentioned Martin Luther King Jr. Women were not truly equals until around the end of World War I, where they finally gained suffrage, meaning the right to vote. There were even false studies claiming that women were incapable of voting because their brains were irrational, which is false. I'm not saying that is true. Alice Paul was one of the people who greatly contributed to suffrage being passed. A lot of people don't know this, but did you know that the Jim Crow laws also applied to Hispanic people as well as black people? It's true. Mexican people were ostracized almost as much, not as much, but in the same way that black people were ostracized for no reason. Did you know that weed is primarily illegal because of the Mexican people? The United States government wanted people to think that marijuana was evil, so they made it illegal because the Mexican people primarily smoked it. I'm not saying anything here. I'm not saying weed should be legal. I'm not saying it's safe. I'm not making it political. If anyone's making it political, it's you. I never make it political. I don't do that kind of thing on my show, all right? I'm completely unbiased. Gosh, you're driving me insane. Here you can see an example of a restriction placed on Hispanic people. Very cruel, very unusual. Another group that was treated badly by the United States government purely out of race was the Japanese people during World War II. Okay, you know what? I'm tired of it. You get it? The Japanese people during World War II, because of what happened in Pearl Harbor, a lot of Japanese Americans who, by the way, were against what was going on in Japan anyways, were sent to internment camps. The same exact thing we were fighting to prevent in World War II. It was pure hypocrisy. It's actually pretty baffling. Of course, there's other examples of racism in America throughout history. I mean, Polish people, Irish people, Indian people, as in actual Indian people, not Native Americans. But the ones I talked about more elaborately, those are the prime examples that everybody knows about. The more severe cases. Oh, shoot. The fact of the matter is this. There is a reason I was wearing all these funny costumes. Believe it or not. America is a great place to live. In my opinion, it's the best place to live. But, I'm probably biased. But we suffer from racism, from just the toxicness that is believing that people are different based on their ethnicity. It's not true. Everybody's equal. We need to stop looking at people on who they are, or let me rephrase that, what they are, and we need to focus on more, who are they on the inside? Who are they good? Are they bad? It's not about the color of the skin. And America doesn't realize that. Racism will never die. It won't. World peace will never be achieved. Some people don't go to heaven. Not everyone's going to find love. Pets die. It's the truth. It's the cold truth. But we can try. That's the point. And the reason for the costumes was it's the distraction. America is the distraction. The racism is the curse. It's the plague that is destroying our nation, and we need to prevent it. We need to help. I'm ranting, I get it, but I had to cap this video somehow. All these examples I showed you, don't repeat them, America, public. Don't do it. This is going for, I don't know how many minutes this has been, this rant alone has been going. And I know it's conversational, and it's like almost as if I'm just talking to somebody, but I'm getting the information across. You can see that. So, hubcap aside, or whatever this is called, it might not be called a hubcap. Thank you for watching, and thank you for